NASCAR throws a caution on the white flag lap of the All-Star race for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. hitting the wall. Freddie.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked him first.
Yep.
You got 45 seconds. Go.
Spot off 1,000%. This happened right in front of us. We were running, I don't know, 10th, 12th, something like that. And Ricky was about 5 cars on the track, 2 cars ahead of us, and just looked at me like he got a flat and took off up the racetrack. And I asked his spotter Tab, I said, "Did you get the fence?" He said, "No, I don't think so." Now, I don't know if I didn't see a replay of it, so I don't know if he hit the fence or not. But, they called out turn 2. We looked up. Ricky was still rolling down the back straightaway. And I thought he was easily going to make it to pit road. Didn't look to me like he was shredding parts or anything. And I was really surprised that they threw the yellow flag there for some reason. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the timing of it. I don't know. I just, to me, this whole weekend, there was a lot of questionable cautions on when they did throw them and when they didn't throw them. And we harp on here all the time about consistency with the caution flag. And again, this was another case where we didn't get it.
Listen, and to their credit, they admitted it. To their credit, they came out and said, "Hey, that was on us." And, listen, I've known Scott Miller for a long time. Scott Miller, I got where I couldn't hit my ass on the racetrack, and I got winning again and contending to win a championship. And Scott Miller was crew chief. I've known Scott Miller for a long time. He's a good guy, and there's a lot of good people in that NASCAR tower, and a lot of racers in that NASCAR tower, hardcore racers, but they screwed up, and it's it's not a mistake that they should have made. I am always I'm a little sympathetic, because I think that anytime you start changing the damn rules for a special event, you open the door for stuff. And any other race, they throw that caution, race is over, everybody's locked in, it's done. They throw that caution, and it's a unique deal. They took the white flag, a normal race is over, but now it's not. And those guys have to adjust on the fly to that. It was not a caution that needed to be thrown for any reason, even if it would have been in the middle of the race. That's what was confusing to me. Like, that caution just didn't need to come out. And so they owned it. But then when you make the mistake, how do you handle it? And I will tell you that I think one of the worst calls in the history of the sport, in the history of the damn sport, was when they put Jeff Gordon in the damn playoffs because of what happened in Richmond with the MWR cars.
With Brett, yeah.
That was that was one of the dumbest things that ever happened in the history of the sport. And I will tell you, when they made that call, it made me wonder if I even wanted to be in this sport. It was so horrendous to put a guy in the sport because what might have happened. Bull crap. You don't know what would have happened. You can't make a call on what might have happened. So I hear people say they should have brought him down pit road. Don't buy all that. What they did, well, I'm watching it. I had left the racetrack and gone to the hotel and was watching the race in the hotel. I was, in full confession, I was at the bar. There were 3 guys at the bar, and they were like, "What's happening?" And I'm like, "He ain't getting that window net up." And they turn around and look, and they recognize me like, "Well, there's a guy that should know." I said, "He ain't getting that damn window net up. It ain't happening."
Not possible.
Yeah.
Brett, but we've talked about this a lot, where fans basically are pissed off when the race ends under yellow. So now they're trying to change it. Don't you have to give NASCAR credit for making at least an effort on a non-point race?
If it's a real yellow.
It was another 100 feet.
Yeah, I back up to Saturday's race. I'm spot off for this, obviously. I back up to Saturday's race, and we had a car to spin in 1 and 2, a lap after a restart, and it was in the middle of the pack, and it was a full-blown wreck. And we stayed freaking. When I got finished spotting that particular wreck, the whole spin in front of you, he's in the middle, go to the bottom, do all these things, and I look down and I'm like, they haven't thrown a freaking caution. It's under green, you got to go. Then the next thing I see, Justin Allgaier, who had a dominant car, he goes into 1, he gets a flat, he is completely out of the way, he's not strolling debris on the racetrack, he comes off of 2, and they throw a caution, and I'm like. So we throw a caution for something that's not a wreck, But when we actually have a wreck, we don't throw a caution. It goes back to what Freddie said, consistency. Here's what I want to know. And this is a question I asked Jay Fabian last year, and he didn't answer me. Who decides if we're throwing the caution? That's what I want to know, is who actually, because that's the person that needs to be, is it Scott Miller?
No.
Well, Scott, if you listen to what Scott Miller said last night,
And I love Scott Miller too, by the way.
yeah, what Scott Miller said last night was that they saw the incident, they were talking about it, and the quote, I'm not going to get it perfect, race director looked up, not sure what he was looking at, he pushed a button to throw the caution. That was Scott Miller's words.
Okay.
So in that situation, that was the race director that has the button that turns the caution lights on. He looked up, saw something, hit the button. That's in.
Do you think the race director in the Cup Series should change on a weekly basis? Or should it be one person that is a David Hoots mastermind of that position? Do we need one guy, or do we need multiple guys in that role?
So
If
listen, the
this
common
happens.
sense tells me one guy, but you know, listen, I one thing I've learned in my life is that until you walk in someone else's shoes, you don't really understand what they do. You don't really understand the challenges. So common sense tells me there should be one guy, but I don't know the pitfalls in having one guy. There's a reason they have two. They're not a bunch of dumb ass. There's a reason that they have two. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but there is, if they have two or three or four, whatever that number is, I honestly don't know. But common sense tells me the same way I remember the conversations about NFL referees, should they be full-time people? And I'm like, well, hell yeah. I invest my Sunday to watch an NFL game. I want it to be officiated the best it can. But did having a full-time guy make the officiating better? Just because I thought it did or would didn't mean that it was actually going to happen.
I think it helps with consistency. And,
Well,
and having listened
common
to
sense says yes, but again, I don't know the pitfalls of that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and having been on the roof 20 plus years, and I think my peer spotters here will agree, it helps us because we know what the tower is probably going to do versus in those scenarios where you don't know what the hell's going to happen, and it literally ends up being a crapshoot. I mean, right now on any given weekend, we have 3 different voices that we hear in race control, whether that's running practice, qualifying, or the actual races themselves. Obviously, multiple series. I get that one person shouldn't be asked to do all those things all weekend long. But maybe they should, because the spotters do them all weekend long.
Yeah, but y'all's job's easy.
Hey, I will say though, when you had David Hoots, you knew what was pretty much going to be a caution. He knew what you were going to do on a restart. He knew your little tricks. He told, get him up
He called
there.
him Jimmy Jackin.
Yeah, he would call people out coming to the green because he knew their tricks, and he'd be like, Rocky, get him up. He would say, Rocky, get him on up there or whatever. So I think that consistency helps a lot too, and it just seems like it did flow, like it flowed really well.
So my question to you guys, who with you guys has sat down with NASCAR and said, here's our opinion?
So we got you.
I'm really
We actually have a better open channel right now with NASCAR than we ever have, whether that be email, text, or talking on the
NASCAR
radio.
holler.
The last time I talked to Tim Berman in length was in Daytona about some radio issues that we have as a group, and I gave him my advice, and he took it very openly. So I think, Jeff, like coming from us, it's the best it's ever been. I think it literally is, just to Freddie's point, it's just inconsistency. They gotta get more consistent.
Well, I last night was a screw up, and there was a few others. I thought there was a caution thrown for Harvick at
Last
few weeks
week.
ago.
Yeah,
with
last week.
with tire
Yeah.
on the
Spinning,
front.
yeah.
That was odd. Yes, I see what you're saying, and we do need the competitors deserve consistency. The fans deserve consistency, and it's easier for NASCAR when they're consistent. And so they have to make sure that when things like this happen, or the caution you mentioned, why are we doing this? How do we do better?
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time with NASCAR over the last 6 months, and I was one of those drivers that went in the hauler when I drove. I was in the hauler every week. I went in there every week, and because I wanted to make sure they knew what I thought. And there's no doubt in my mind that they want to be better than they are. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Now, that doesn't cover up for last night, because last night shouldn't happen.
I know you want to sell your home. Do it with our friends at OfferPad. Go get a cash offer right now at OfferPad.com.